Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Bishop. I am the owner and one of the attorneys at the Bishop Law Firm located in Raleigh, North Carolina. The Bishop Law Firm represents personal injury clients in car accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, premise liability, motorcycle accidents, wrongful death, and other types of personal injury cases. Our firm does not get paid unless you win, and we offer free case reviews by phone. This video is going to discuss pain and suffering in the context of a North Carolina personal injury case. First, we are going to discuss what is pain and suffering. Secondly, we're going to discuss how pain and suffering affects personal injury or car accident settlements. And then lastly, we are going to discuss how to prove pain and suffering in personal injury cases. In North Carolina, you can recover pain and suffering damages from car accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, or any other type of personal injury in which you did not cause the injury or the accident. It should be noted that pain and suffering is available in personal injury cases, but is not available in North Carolina workers' compensation cases. So if you were injured while at work and a third party was not involved, you're not going to be entitled to pain and suffering under North Carolina's workers' compensation law. After sustaining a personal injury, there are different types of recovery that a victim is entitled to. A victim is entitled to be compensated for their medical bills, lost wages, other accident-related expenses, and also their pain and suffering. Pain and suffering attempts to compensate for the victim for the physical pain and mental suffering that the victim had to endure because of the negligent party's actions. So for example, if you break your leg in a car accident, you are not only going to suffer physical pain from your leg being broken, you're also going to experience mental and emotional distress because your leg is broken. Another example of a clearer example of pain and suffering is, let's say a person is injured by the negligence of someone else and sustains burns on their body. A burn is one of the worst types of injury that a human being can experience, because not only is there initial pain, there's also extreme itching and burning during the healing process. So the itching, the burning, the terrible sensations that the burn victim has to go through in order to recover from the injury would definitely be calculated and try to be compensated for if they got pain and suffering. Unfortunately, after a personal injury, a victim can be left with more than physical scars. A person can sustain trauma, they can view others being hurt, and this can leave a person with mental scarring. Our clients have developed depression, anxiety, vihophobic, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and these mental impairments definitely cause a victim to suffer. And if you're having any of the mental symptoms of any of these impairments, you definitely need to seek mental health treatment as soon as possible. The next topic that we are going to discuss is, how does pain and suffering affect a North Carolina personal injury or car accident settlement. Initially, it should be discussed that most insurance adjusters scoff at the idea of paying pain and suffering, or they will offer an amount that is so low that it is simply ridiculous. If the insurance adjuster will not give you pain and suffering, or they will not offer enough to settle your claim, your only choice is to file a claim, a court case, in district or superior court of the county in which your accident occurred. So, getting to how to calculate pain and suffering, most personal injury lawyers use medical bills as the starting point for calculating pain and suffering. So you take the total of the medical bills after your insurance has paid their portion, and you add that to the lost wages, and you also add any accident-related medical expenses. And after you add these numbers together, you have your total loss. So you take your total loss from the accident, from the injury, and you multiply that by a multiplier from 1.5 to 5 to come up with the amount that you should request for pain and suffering. And to kind of give you an idea of 1.5 to 5, what those numbers mean, 5 would be the multiplier for a victim who was killed in an accident, whereas a multiplier of 1.5 would be for a victim who may have sustained only soft tissue injuries. So an example of this pain and suffering calculation would be as follows. So Minnie Mouse has $15,000 in medical bills, and she has $5,000 in lost wages. You add those two numbers together and you come up with her total loss, which is $20,000. In this particular case, let's say Minnie Mouse broke her leg. So we're going to go with a multiplier of 3 just for purposes of this example. So you take the $20,000 in loss that Minnie Mouse has sustained and you multiply that times 3, and that comes up with $60,000, which in Minnie Mouse's case, what you would ask for pain and suffering. So you would take the $60,000 in pain and suffering and you would add that to the $20,000 in actual loss. And that would come up with an $80,000 demand that would be sent to the insurance adjuster. Usually, the more severe a person's injuries, the greater their medical bills, the greater their lost wages. And usually, the greater these numbers, the greater the amount of the pain and suffering. But that is not always the case. Sometimes a person can have few medical expenses but still have a large amount of pain and suffering based on the circumstances of the case. How do you prove pain and suffering damages? The best way to prove pain and suffering damages is with photographs. Photographs of the victim before the accident, after the accident, and while they were healing. This really gives an adjuster or a jury a real look at what the person had to go through because of this injury. Any neck braces, any casts, any kind of assistive device that the victim had to use during their healing process should definitely be photographed. The next thing that a personal injury client can do is to keep a diary, a daily diary of a person's pain, what household activities they've had problems with, if they have problems bathing, if they have problems putting on their clothes, if they have problems sleeping because of pain or because they can't get in a position that allows them to be comfortable because of their injury. Also, any difficulties the injured person have with walking, sitting, standing, carrying. These are activities of daily living that really help illustrate the type of problems the injured victim had because of this injury. Also, a statement of how the injury, the mental stress from the injury has affected your relationship with your wife or your husband or your children, or things that you are not able to do, or family activities that you are not able to engage in because of your injury. Basically, what you're trying to do is paint a vivid picture for the adjuster so they will understand and accept that a jury could possibly agree with you, that a jury could vividly see what you have went through because of this injury. And if the adjuster in their mind can process that a jury will be willing to accept this and award you money because of it, you're more than likely going to get a higher portion of pain and suffering from adjuster. And if not, a jury will definitely be more inclined and be more interested if they have photographs, if they have a detailed explanation of what your daily life was like because of this injury. In addition to photographs and diaries, mental health treatment is also a really great way to illustrate what the injury victim was going through mentally because of their injury. How are they feeling mentally when they were going through the healing process? Did they develop any kind of anxiety disorder like post-traumatic stress disorder because of the injury that they sustained? So medical health records actually illustrate what was going through the person's mind after they had the injury. And I think that's very illustrative of the pain and suffering that a victim had to endure. Thank you for watching this video. The Bishop Law Firm represents personal injury clients in North Carolina, and we do not get paid unless we win. We also offer free case reviews by phone, 919-615-3095. Thank you and have a great day.